introduce to you our special guest, Nellie Volk Roberts.
You'll meet Sherry Boykin here shortly. She is going to also be joining me in our presentation. She's been my right-hand lady friend for years. And it is a friendship that I developed through the Kitchen of Hope. So that's one of the many blessings, is the new people you meet and you have that common faith and that common goal and that common ministry, and it's friendships that last forever. So we want to thank you, first of all, for letting us come here today and tell you about this ministry that we do care so much about. Kitchen of Hope, it is an outreach ministry of Full Gospel Mission Church. We are a soup kitchen. The only thing we do other than ministering, what would I say, emotionally whenever we have the opportunity, spiritually when we have the opportunity, but our goal is really to feed these folks. And we are located on East Sevier Avenue. And if you've ever gone down East Sevier, you will have seen the church. It's Full Gospel Mission, and that's been our home base ever since it started years ago. We are open every Monday through Saturday, closed only on Sundays. And we have folks there, various teams that will be cooking every day, and then they start serving from 3:30 until 5 o'clock. Who comes? Anybody can come. That's one thing that we love about our ministry, we like to tout about it, is that we do not have any requirements that the people have to meet in order to come and eat. There's no form to fill out, no questionnaire. They just come. They just come to eat and whatever. We serve people who are young and old. We serve people that are homeless. Many of them are. One question you all might want to know is how many are homeless, and we have no clue because we don't have a questionnaire, so we don't know who have homes to go to and who don't. But we do know that a lot of them are on the streets or sleeping wherever they can find a place to curl up. Some of them we find sleeping at the kitchen behind the dumpster. But then there are also a lot of people, I think the majority of our population are people that have a place to live, government housing, many of them, and several of them, we believe, do have jobs just from talking to them. A lot of them are coming in from work, but they just need something to help make ends meet. There's just not enough there, as we've seen, especially in the last few years, that they can cover all the expenses that they have. So we have a real broad population. And I failed to mention on that previous slide, but you don't have to go back. But our acronym is Kitchen of Hope, and HOPE stands for helping other people eat. And again, that's what we're striving to do. This is a picture of Full Gospel Mission. If you'll go down East Sevier as if you're going toward the hospital, we're on the left. And around the back of that church is where our volunteers enter. And on the left side of the church, you'll see the door that has the awning. That's where the folks come and get their meal. Unfortunately, we do not have dine-in meals anymore, but since COVID, it began because of the pandemic, but then after that, our numbers increased so much that we could not house that many people to come in and sit down and eat. So we are continuing to do carry-out meals, but they are meals like you would get at home. Most people are fixing, meatloaf and lasagna and stroganoff, and I can't begin to tell you, tacos, and there are some sandwiches that go out the door as well, but they're having a really good meal that goes to them. Who are we? First and foremost, our founder, Full Gospel Mission Church. If we did not have that place to serve, I'm sure God would provide another, but this has just been a perfect place for us. They have supported us. Actually, that church started this ministry. in '98. And so they have been the foundation for that church since it began. And we have 33 different teams that serve. And those teams are made up of anywhere from 4 members to one team to 10 or more members, just depending on how many that team leader needs. We also, and we couldn't do it without our volunteers. I can't say enough about the volunteers. So we have a steering team that meets about every quarter, and that steering team is made up of the folks who do come there and volunteer. We like to have a representative from each team come so they can bring ideas on what might work better, or we had this problem, or how do I do that? And so we're just handling the day-to-day operational issues. Included in that is the purchasing of whatever food items, cleaning items, lots of paper products, styrofoam products, as much as I hate to admit, the landfills are hating us, I'd say. And then there's another group of folks that handle inventory. Somebody has to go and keep a close eye on what we have there, what we need, and then make arrangements for the buyers to go and pick up those items so that when the serving teams come, most of what they need to prepare their meal is going to be there. And then we have housekeeping, and we have cleaning that's done once every week. And along with whatever serving team is there that day has your basic cleaning to be done, but then a more deep cleaning once a week. And then we have try to do a quarterly or a semi-annual really good deep cleaning, a spring cleaning, fall cleaning, and really keep it up to par, because we do get inspected by the health department. And one of our big benefactors, Second Harvest, also comes in from time to time to audit to make sure we're all doing what we're supposed to be to keep our patrons safe. So, and the last, we do also have a board of directors, and that is made up of people from the Kitchen of Hope, volunteers themselves, and also some representatives from the church, so that the church stays in the loop on what's going on, and we're sure that we're not outstepping what we're supposed to be doing. You know, they're really calling the last shot, but they've been real good with us on all that. And they handle the financial, money-raising issues, regulatory issues, gaining grants, and also just general oversight of everything that the Kitchen of Hope is doing. We've come a long way since 1990. That is when Full Gospel Mission actually bought the building that you saw in the picture there and started having a church there. And 8 years later, the pastor of that church, Geraldine Swaggerty, and her just had a real burden, had been carrying a burden to feed the people in Kingsport. So 8 years later, she did open a feeding ministry. Started out just a day or two a week and just a few people on the streets that she'd just bring in and let me feed you. Are you hungry? It grew so quickly that the next year she needed help. So churches first started coming alongside her, and they not only contributed financial support that she needed, but they also contributed with volunteers to help her do the serving. So that we very quickly were serving 6 days a week. About 10 years after that, we realized we needed to have a more formal process for managing, because we had so many volunteers, so many people who'd come to eat, so many various needs, that we had to have a team of people to kind of overlook all that and be sure it went smoothly. So we developed the steering team that I mentioned earlier that handles just the day-to-day issues. And then in 2014, Pastor Swaggerty's health started going down significantly. and where she had been the main overseer of the process with steering team helping her underneath that, she asked if we would take that leadership on, and we did. We developed a board of directors. We set up a very formal process to do book to manage our books, and we have a trained financial person who manages that for us at no cost. We have a formal inventory management system and formal purchasing team. So it's all now pretty much works like clockwork most of the time. And in that same year, we did have our 15-year anniversary. So we were pretty proud of that. We had an open house at the Kitchen Pope and invited the community and anyone else that wanted to come in just to see what we're all about. That was a picture of Pastor Swaggerty. I don't know if any of you all in that previous slide. She was the one who began it all, had the vision. "2020. Now that's a year that none of us will ever forget. I wonder how long it's going to take till that no longer brings up terrible memories. But that is when we did have to shift from in-house dining to carry-out meals. The next year, Pastor Swaggerty did pass away. She did contract COVID and just had a lot of other issues going on. So she went on to her heavenly home and her just rewards. So I'm sure God said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." The next 4 years, I guess it's actually been 5 now, we were able to do a lot of renovations to the kitchen. And although COVID has very negative connotations, it really was a blessing for the Kitchen of Hope. And I think God blessed us because we did not shut down. We would not let that pandemic stop us because we knew these people couldn't stop eating. I mean, to help them stay healthy and avoid being sick themselves, they had to eat. So a lot of businesses sent us sizable donations through the 2020, 2021 to help us continue to operate. We did receive some grants. Individuals started giving a lot more money than we normally would have. So we had a lot of money come in that 1 or a year and a half, which enabled us to do some major renovations that were so needed. That building was 100 years plus old. So you can imagine the plumbing was terrible, the electrical work was terrible. It's a wonder that we even didn't burn down. So we did do major electrical and plumbing upgrades. The health department was really after us to get more, replace a lot of the counter surfaces, and you need more stainless, something you can bleach, something you can really clean. So we were able to finally afford that. So you can see we have a list here of all the things that we were able to purchase for the kitchen, and a lot of those were donated to us or they were bought with the money that was given to us during that time frame. And then we had a 25-year anniversary in 2023. So we're getting along there. You can see here pictures of what the kitchen looks like now. I wish we had a before and after, because if you ever saw it before, the before was terrible, and it was so hard to prepare a meal because all we had were little commercial stoves.
Residential
home stoves that we wore them out. I mean, in a year or two, they had to go out and we had to get another one. And most of those were just stoves that people were donating because they didn't want them anymore. But we now have just great big commercial freezers, big commercial convection ovens, a warming station to keep the food warm. The countertop is now totally stainless, so it's such an improvement, such a blessing. So we we won't thank COVID, but we'll thank God for using COVID. He can take terrible things and make something wonderful out of it. There's our nice long stainless. That's where the folks used to pick up their food and then go sit down in the other area. But now on the other side of that counter is where we do all of our getting our lunches packed and ready, and our food distribution is set up in there. If the outside of the building just looked like the inside did, we'd be doing good. I'm afraid the walls are going to come crumbling down, though. Okay. I guess Sherry is going to come up now and talk about a few of our slides.
I've
And
got a question for you.
yes,
Okay, in the distribution of the meals, do you do this through a window? Do they come in and pick up their meal and then go out another exit? Or what's the setup?
okay. See this slide, the picture on the left, you see
Yes.
the red awning? That's the door on the side of the church, and the meals are, we set a table up right outside that door.
Actually, I have.
And the meals are kept there, and somebody
Something like
mans the
that.
table and hands them a drink and the bagged meal, and then they go on.
Okay, so it's just a running.
So
line.
here's-
Yes, yes.
Okay.
These were at the
Yeah,
end
and
photos.
there's a picture of the folks
Okay.
lined up and the meals being distributed. Now, before when we had dine-in, that line would be so long because they would wait to come in and get the first tables because everybody couldn't come in and sit at the same time. Now, with it being just come by and pick up your lunch and go, you don't see the long lines. It's just more of a steady flow during the hours that we're open.
And I have another question.
Yes.
Do you have mostly women manning this? Or do you have a mixture of men and women manning it? And then how do you handle, you're dealing with drug abusing people, you're dealing with people with mental disorders. How do you handle the rowdiness that can happen?
Do you have an answer for us for that one? That's probably, I know. Probably one of the biggest, opportunity, I'll call it. That's an Eastman word. You don't have problems, you have opportunities. To answer your first question, our teams are made up of men and women. Ideally, every team would have at least one man there. That is not true. I know on my team, we do not have a man. We had a wonderful gentleman that was a member of the church. He's on their board. He was Pastor Swaggerty's brother-in-law. But he passed very unexpectedly last year. And he knew the people. He could tell you who they were. He could tell you their circumstances. And although he was little, they knew he meant business. So he was really our peacekeeper for the most part. And we don't have another Larry yet. Some teams have incorporated a gentleman to join them on their teams. Some of our volunteers even have gun carry permits.
Do you have police supervision that,
We do not. Now, we can call the police, and that's always the first line of action is if you really sense.
I would say one thing we do is ask our clients to self-regulate. So one thing that we do if things are getting rowdy and if we have problems and issues, the church steps in and we will shut down for 2 weeks because of the rowdiness and stuff.
Okay.
So as a result of that, our clients will self-regulate. If something's going on, they will handle it. So that is one avenue that we use for things. But
well, have you looked at, because I know some of the police officers do things like on a volunteer basis, for some of the different organizations. And have you looked at some of those?
honestly, there are probably different opinions of this with the volunteers, but I think if you bring in a police presence, we aren't going to be seeing a lot of the same people that we see that need to come there. So,
he wouldn't have to be in uniform, he could be undercover, so he would have to be in uniform.
Yeah.
Because he does have a gun carry permit.
yeah.
I mean, like if I was going to work down there, I'd have a gun.
Well, there's a different when
Even
we're
where I work.
when we're serving like this, there's
Yeah.
typically one person maybe 2 people out there handing out meals. And I typically do that for my team, and I don't really have problems like that. One issue that we have is we give out 1 meal per person that's present. We can't, when somebody comes up, I need 10 meals for my household, we don't do that. At 4:30, if people want seconds, they can come and request seconds if our team has prepared enough and we think we're going to have enough food to feed the people that are there. So you see at 4:30 a big influx of people who need extra meals, but I haven't experienced I've experienced some issues with pushback on things, but you just kind of have to stand your ground. The person that's outside needs to have a strong personality to be able to handle that. But everybody else, the rest of my team is inside preparing the meals and handing them to me to hand out. So you have that barrier of safeness. And I have called the police a couple of times because this is when we were inside. People go out and like a fight will break out and the police come pretty quick. So you do have that, but I don't. And with us shutting down when we do have problems, I think it's a lot of self-regulation.
Mhm.
So you're saying right now you don't see that kind of behavior.
I don't. I know some people, some teams have,
Mhm.
and then there's some people. Well, when they're causing issues, they get banned for 6 months. That's what Larry would do. You can't come back for 6 months till you straighten out. That's your consequence for your behavior. So
That was easier when Larry was there
Yeah.
because he was there almost every day, and he knew, oh, you're banned, you can't come.
yeah,
Whereas if you serve once a month and you don't know the faces, it's harder to manage that.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but being an a retired, not an ex, and a retired alcohol and drug and psych nurse, we've got to protect our chicks here, the mother hen.
hmm
Got to protect our chicks. And so before we go down and volunteer, we need to know what we're stepping into. Security.
hmm
Yes, the security of it.
hmm
Well,
I mean,
they
most of us
can.
couldn't fight our way out of a wet paper bag, you know, nor have the nerve to stand up.
And it's not a hostile.
No, it
Society, I
really
mean, it's-
isn't.
I mean, I feel comfortable there.
I'm there lots
you
of
too.
times
I
by
go there.
myself, just not cooking and doing a meal on my own, but just going and checking on things and taking something down there. And I have never felt threatened. There was even a gentleman just the other day that was laying by the dumpster sound asleep. I guess he knew I was there because I wasn't being real quiet and I was putting stuff in the outdoor storage building and he was leaned up against it sleeping. So I know he could hear me in there. But I've never, I guess I'm just trusting God's, I'm not being stupid. You know, God gives us a sense of you've got to be smart, but I also didn't feel unsafe. And I have personally never run into, and I've been there a long time, I have never run into a discipline situation myself with my team. There have been some that have had issues come up, but they're very easily resolved, and the volunteers, I've never had a report of a volunteer feeling like their life and limb was at threat. But most of the people are, as Sherry said, inside the building, doors locked except where this person is handing out a meal and he's just can quickly dash in, shut the door, and call the police. But we've not had that come up.
No.
Do any children ever come? I'm just curious. Young
To eat,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes. We do have children of all ages.
Great.
It's more, we see more of an adult population, but particularly during school, the children are being fed at school. But there are children that come as well.
Families.
Yeah.
They'll bring lots of kids.
Introduce to you
Your partner to the first speaker, Sherry Boykin. Sherry moved with her family to Kingsport in 2008 from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where she worked as a research and Development Chemist for PPG Industries, Glass Research Division. Upon moving to Kingsport, she became a full-time stay-at-home mom with daughters, Libby and Erin, who were 4 and 2 at the time. This was quite a change. I imagine that was.
Very much so.
Yes. So she looked for opportunities within the community where she could serve others and care for her children at the same time. That was a hard task. One opportunity began with baking desserts with her children for a serving team that someone in her Sunday school class led at the Kitchen of Hope. That was over 15 years ago. Since that time, her service at the kitchen has grown. Sherry has organized and led a team for many years now and has been involved behind the scenes as a Second Harvest food bank shopper, inventory organizer, as well as a steering team member. Can I hear a round of applause?
Thank you. It's kind of a joke when we would make a lot of desserts because we serve a lot of people. That's what I'm going to talk about with the numbers, but
Can you hear her? Okay.
I can speak up too. My husband would come home and we've made tons of brownies, like, 80 brownies, and he's wanting to eat things. I'm like, nope, you can't eat any of that food. So now whenever he comes home, can I eat that? Who is this for? Who is this for? Because it's not for him generally. So, but it was just on that premise. I felt it was good to involve my kids in what I was doing, and I wanted to contribute, and I wanted them to know and have that same service, because I believe that's what we're called to do, because that's what God does call us to do. So anyway, they are in college now. I became an empty nester this year with both kids in college, so I'm adjusting into a new season for that. But so my background, I don't want to look at numbers and stuff, so this is what I do, the numbers. Nellie's like, I don't want to talk about that. But I want to look at plots and stuff, but I'll just keep it simple, because when you look at the numbers of people that we serve, it's a lot. And my team, when we cook, we make enough servings for about, depending on the numbers, maybe anywhere from 175 to 200. And talk about God providing. When I get desserts from groups, they're like, oh, I've got a lot of desserts. I'm like, well, God provides. We're gonna have a lot of people today. So we only started looking at recording the numbers like in around 2005. And if you look at the number of meals served, that's the red line, and that's over time. To the last data is from last year, because we're looking at the entire year. We went from, in 2005, serving around 21,000 meals for the year, to last year we served around 43,000 meals for the entire year. And the green line is the average number of meals that we serve per day, where in 2005, about 70 people per day would come in and eat at the facility inside. Now, in 2020, we get a big jump up. That went from 70 to like 157. We started seeing about, what is that? That's about 50 more meals a day that we were putting out to people. It was a huge jump. So we got lots of people coming in. That's also when we transitioned to, we're not serving in the dining room, it's a to-go service. And we had the caveat of it's one person per meal that's coming in.
And there were a lot of days there were over 200 people.
Yeah. So last year, that average was 163 meals per day. And that's Saturday teams usually have less. At the beginning of the month, you'll have less. You have more at the end of the month. I'm an end of month team, so when I prepare for my team to serve, it's about, I shoot for like 200 or so. But I'm able to give people seconds and stuff. It's hard when people come up because they're hungry. They'll come up, I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'm like, well, we were open yesterday. You could come here, But there are people out there and they're hungry. So we estimate that since 1998, we've served about 700,000 meals out of that kitchen. And if you have seen it before, we had small stoves, residential stoves. Now, gosh, what a difference with 2020 and us being able to get grants and stuff to be able to purchase those big convection ovens that we can really cook and accommodate the numbers that we have now. And I'll just keep saying, God provides, God provides, God provides every time. Jehovah Jireh. So we anticipate that by 2030, we're going to reach that 1 million meal mark. So that's what we're headed towards. So how do we do it? First and foremost, God. He provides for us in every situation. He provides for his people. He provides for us, being able to provide and serve him by serving others. He provided volunteers from the community. And one thing that's interesting to me is that the group of people that come together, you got a lot of division in churches, but we have so many different denominations, so many different organizations that come together for this common purpose of showing God's love to others and by serving him. So one of the partnerships that we have is with Second Harvest Food Bank, and we are an agency of theirs, so we can purchase food from them at greatly reduced prices. And we are part of that cost-sharing program. So I go there and shop for the kitchen. And so like a case of green beans, I haven't crossed out what green beans are at the store, but we can get like a case of green beans for like $12 there. So there's things that we buy, dry grocery good items that they have is 19 cents per pound. So we were there one day and there's lots of crackers. So you can buy a ton of crackers at 19 cents per pound because they're very lightweight. So we're also part of this Food Connect program, and that is a program that they have with local grocery stores, restaurants, and things like that, that say you're at Walmart or Food City or wherever, and they have their stuff that they're trying to get rid of clearance. Their best by date is coming due. So after they try to sell it to us at the grocery store, they take it out of commission. They can write it off. Second Harvest Food Bank gets that food and distributes it to local agencies. We get a lot of meat before. Just think about having to purchase meat for a meal. It's expensive. So we get a lot of that, and that's all free. We get that free. We have all the freezers that you saw are pretty full because, a lot of stuff is donated from them that we're not having to pay for. So we also qualify for USDA, and USDA items are free from there. And depending on how many people you serve, depends on how much food you get. So we get that. And that's one reason we're able to do what we do now and serve as many people as we serve with the money that we take in. We're also part of this Summit Leadership Foundation. This is a group that puts 501c3s together. It's a Christian-based group. And mainly they want to connect people and so that we are better together than individually. So we are part of that organization. They've helped us a lot with connecting us with donors during COVID specifically that wanted to donate to food serving ministries. And we were able to receive several grants through that. We've gotten freezers from them. You probably know more that they've donated to us. But just that connection, and they know what we do, and somebody comes up so they can network for us and help us in that regard. And finally, we do have financial contributors, and those we have a few people that give monthly and organizations, and then some annual contributors. So budget. So for 2025, we had to increase our budget. For previous years, we ran around $35,000 per year. And just take in mind the number of people that we're serving. But a lot of the things that we do are reserved at reduced prices through Second Harvest donations, things that are free. Also, our teams, some teams don't utilize any of the food and stuff that we have there, so teams might buy their own food. So individual teams are also contributing to that, and it's not really covered in our budget overall. But so this year we had to increase our overall budget just because we anticipate some building repairs that are going to have to be done, as well as food prices are increasing. We see that at Second Harvest Food Bank. We see that things that we have to purchase, like we purchase through Sam's, or those clamshell containers for to-go meals. Things have just gone up tremendously. I know we all feel that at home. We feel it in our own budgets at home. We definitely feel it at the Kitchen of Hope when you're having to send out 200 meals a day. So we have increased our budget this year to about $50,000. So donations for the past several years have been around $27,000. And as you see, there's a great discrepancy there, and we need to make that up. During COVID, when we received several grants, we got a cushion there that we've been steadily whittling away at. And unfortunately, with our reserves and stuff, next year we're going to be eating into our 6 months reserves if we're spending at the same rates. And the next year we'll be operating in a deficit. So financial contributors to make up that difference is something that we definitely, our board needs to investigate and look at for long term. But again, we're reliant on God, and boy, has He always provided for us. I'll just say in 2013, we had major plumbing overhaul that was in the $10,000 to $12,000 range. God provided the company that did the work at reduced prices, and we had no money. We had no money at all to pay for that, and He provided. And so we always look to Him for provision, and He always provides. And so we're just stepping by faith and knowing that He will provide in the future as well. But we also need to do our due diligence and recruit people for financial contributions as well. So our current needs, first and foremost, prayer support. We could use your prayers for this ministry, for the people who we are witnesses to, through providing just basic needs. And that's how Jesus, He wanted us to go, and He wants to provide people's basic needs so that they are receptive towards receiving Him and learning about Him. So please pray for this ministry, that we are touching people and giving people what they need. We need, you can talk about the budget a little bit, financial partnerships, not just individual contributors, but also organizations that we can partnership with to help us when we are trying to do what we're doing. Regards to leadership, we're always looking for leadership, board members, facilities manager. We had one for a while. Nellie, this gentleman had to leave, but Nellie has taken over that. But just everybody has their gifts. Everybody has their gifts. Some people's is cooking, some people's is people. I like to organize things. Some people's is the treasury type stuff, which we need a co-treasurer as well. Our facilities manager retired. Nellie's kind of taken on that, but it would be good to have somebody whose gift that is, to just an overseer. We need more serving teams. We have one serving team who serves 6 days each month. That's a full week out of the month. And they're doing it, but my team serves once a month, and that's a lot for me. But, we don't want to get people burned out. We want to maintain our serving team. So we need more to fill in some slots there. And Nellie talked about we have cleaning days, and that's something, some people love to clean. Just come in and clean a couple times a year. So those are some needs that we have at the kitchen. So I think next you're gonna,
Now, I haven't kept up with the time, so I don't know what I have left. Plenty of time.
You want.
Okay.
We have nothing to do, so take it now.
On a full tummy. Well, really, all that I have left here is, I don't want to block y'all's view.
Just make yourself at home. Make yourself at
Come sit in the lap.
home. You can sit.
I solicited testimonials from our volunteers and those who might have actually heard one-on-one from the clients who come to eat, that what can I share with these ladies that is your firsthand experience, what you have grown, how you've grown, what you've seen happen. So I'm just want to take this time to read those off to you. And I think this is where the rubber really meets the road. My golfing buddy and I started volunteering at the Kitchen of Hope over 20 years ago and were assigned to an already existing team. After we had served only one time, our team leaders had to leave town and asked if we would take over that role. We don't know how to do this. Their response, nothing to it, no worries. And that is true. Your first inclination is, oh, I don't know how to cook for that many, or I can't lead a team, or I da-da-da. But it's really not bad at all. So started our journey. We had plenty of trials and errors, but were supported by lots of great people along the way. We started our serving about 60 people, and now we serve 150 to 200. And as it grew, so did we. Kitchen of Hope has been an amazing blessing in our lives, having seen many miracles happen there. More than once, we watched God miraculously stretch scarcity into another needed 20 servings, just like the wine at the wedding feast. Another one says, our team is made up of new and old acquaintances who, like us, are looking for a place to serve. During our time together, we've experienced friendship, kinship with our community, the feeling of knowing we have had the opportunity to show love and kindness to a group who need to know they are worthy. At the end of the day, we leave feeling tired but oh so joyful. One incident stands out to me as if it were yesterday. We had several whole cakes given to us, and we wanted to share them with the patrons while they were still fresh. I noticed a lady standing in the line crying, and I spoke to her asking what was wrong. My sister died today, she answered sadly. I immediately began to think of what I could do to make her feel better, and I was reminded of the cakes. I'm so sorry for your loss. Would you like to take home a cake to share with your friends and family in case they drop by this evening? Not even knowing if she even had a home. I could sense how happy she was, that someone had recognized her and sympathized with her hurt. She thanked me over and over, but I was the one who had received the blessing. And another, I will long remember an incident of kindness shown by two of our diners. A young, severely handicapped man in his uncoordinated movements knocked over his drink, spilling it all over himself and the floor. The two women on either side rushed to help him get cleaned up. Keep in mind, one lady was known to often fly off the handle with most everyone within earshot, and the other was a prostitute. But both not only wanted to help him, but they also insisted on cleaning up the floor around him so others walking by would not slip and injure themselves. They had and exhibited true compassion. I won't read all of this other one, but basically the server noticed a lady came up, her hands were icy cold because it's winter weather, and the next patron that came up noticed her hands as well. He took off his own gloves and gave them to this lady to warm her hands and let her keep them. You know, so many times we think of these people as heartless, so different from ourselves, but they're not. They really aren't. I recall a day one of our regular patrons came bearing her normal, very angry scowl and claimed her meal. But on this day, before she could walk away, I asked her to wait a minute. "Merry Christmas," I said, handing her a bag of candy of her very own. I watched her face immediately change from angry to happy. I knew it wasn't really the candy that made the difference. She was made to feel special. While going through a serving line, a young man, maybe in his early 20s, asked me if he could tell me his favorite Bible verse, and he recited one of the Beatitudes. In response, I asked, "Could I share another Bible verse with you?" He listened intently as I quoted another one of the Beatitudes, and then he asked me to repeat it, which I did. He got his food, he turned and came back to me before sitting down and asked if he could hear it once again. Obviously, he was trying to memorize it. The eager young man returned after he'd finished eating and asked me to repeat it yet a third time. I can't help but wonder if those verses still remain in his heart. And on one occasion, a 12-year-old boy arrived all alone to get food. I was impressed, although unsuspectingly, to give him one of those beautifully decorated birthday cakes that had been donated to us. When I handed the entire cake to him to take home, he was thrilled, exclaiming, "How did you know it was my birthday?" No doubt this made his day and mine too. It probably was the first birthday cake he'd ever received. This is from, we've heard this time and time again from many people who come there to eat, but this is from one of them that said, "More than I can count have been the persons who came for food and remarked, 'If you folks weren't here feeding us, I would not have had anything to eat today.' And Jesus said, 'Feed my sheep.'" So in Isaiah, it says, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" God said. And the answer is, we hope, "Here I am, send me." So these were, you've probably seen the pictures of various ones of our patrons that come by. Some look pretty ragged. Some look just as normal as people we know. And this is Pastor Swaggerty. She did an interview one time at the Kitchen of Hope, and this was something that she said in that interview. But when someone sits down and they eat so fast they can't get the plate quick enough, you know people are hungry. These are elderly people and even little ones, some as young as 2 and 3. You can't let them starve. Before any more leave, we have some handouts there. There's a piece of paper you can take home. There's a little keepsake, a magnet that we hope you'll hang on your refrigerator to remember us, and it gives contact information if you need more information or if you just need to see about volunteering. We could do this presentation to other groups if you know people who might like to hear more about the Kitchen of Hope, what our needs are.